Okay, Craig, James Parker, how's it going, mate? Sorry about the delay in sending you your lesson back. It's been a it's been a hectic week moving back to Texas and everything that goes with that malarkey. But yeah, starting to get situated now. So not quite fully in the house yet, but had my cars delivered and had our cars delivered and that had my computer in it with my V1 system and my mic. So I can definitely crack on with sending lessons back. This is excellent. This is so much better than what you've sent me before. Just the whole package. Let's draw a line up through the club. Another 1-3 right elbow. Right there, the two sort of swing plane lines. Much more sort of up and down the line now, isn't it? On your takeaway, right? On that first bit, you see how the club head now is going inward, right? So that I don't know if I can't remember if I told you this last time, but where you've got your sticks there on the ground, that's good. That's good for alignment. That's good for ball position. What you could also do as well is get rid of that one, right? And then keep that one between your feet. I like that one for the ball position. But then get another one coming this way. That's the line you're going to get the club head going along. And then get another one coming this way. That's the one you're going to get your hands moving over, right? So you want the club head and your hands moving around the circle on concentric circles. And then you can do another one this side of the ball, right? Post impact, right? So you can get another couple of clubs that way. So you're following those two lines going back, so you can see that club head's moving back along that line, more inward, right? So that's a better look there, right? I much prefer that before now I'm seeing your left arm move inward a little bit. Before, your left arm was more sort of, let's get your old swing up, right? We'll do a before and after, right? So there you go. So look how kind of outward it was going, and look where the club head's going, right? So look at that club head. Look at that club head kind of come straight back this way. Now it's going more inward, right? So that's awesome, right? You look at that look there, and then you look at that look there. That's awesome. That's miles better, right? That's going to help you with your turn. That's going to keep your connection more, keeping your arms connected to your torso. So that's great. That's great. Still a bit upward, if we we'll talk on that in the end. At the end, just made a few notes about what I want you to carry on with after today's lesson. But you can see, your club head, your hands and the club kind of come above the top line, right there. This is your new swing. This is your old swing. Line through the club, and you can do this when you video. Line through the club, line through your right elbow, right. But you can see how you get above that top line a lot earlier than what you're doing now, right? You're still kind of on that top line up until about there, whereas you're going above the top line here, right? So your old swing's a lot more upright, and you can see that in that position, right? The one on the left, the club, I'll do this in blue, right? That's where your club is now. Let's say P3, right? So you can see your club now is a lot closer to the top line. We just want it deeper. We want your left arm more over here, right, instead of your left arm being here. So, we'll talk about that towards the end. What I want to do now is talk about the improvements that you're making, right? So that's better. We're definitely sliding our hips more, right, and that's probably why your right foot's coming off the ground. Mind you, you did that before, didn't you? There. Right foot's coming off the ground a little, right heel's coming off the ground a little bit too early. However, from this angle, what we're looking at. You know, still coming down above the top line, so it's a little steep, right? It's coming at the ball a little bit too straight, right? But let's get rid of these lines and stop you at impact, right? So that's where your shoulders were before, still pointing to the right because we can see your chest, we can see your left arm, right? That's where your hips are, right? Kind of square. Well, at impact now on this side, hips are definitely more out the way, aren't they? Shoulders have turned more as well, right? So that's the kind of look you see more of the pros, right? The shoulders are kind of square, maybe a little bit open, right? And the hips are a lot more open. So that's the kind of look you see the pros have. So that's huge as well. That's huge as well. So just getting back into that position makes it easier then to then swing left, and you can see how your hands and club head are moving left more now, right? That look with your right arm is better. Yeah, you can see how this right arm is a bit straight here, and then your old swing, club's coming out above your left shoulder, and your hands are coming out above your left shoulder, right? So your hands and arms are coming up off the circle. So as you're swinging round, your club is kind of traveling out here this way, while your body is moving around here, right? So your hands and the club are coming off the circle, off the concentric circle. Now with this one, this is miles better. Look at that. Look at that club's coming out now, well underneath your left shoulder, right? So I'm not sure if that's just the process of, you know, getting in a better impact position is just a byproduct of me telling you to swing left. If it's a byproduct of me telling you to keep the connection under your left armpit, right? Put a T-peg there, put a glove there to keep the connection, right? But that look there where you've got this 90-degree angle with your arm, right? Whereas you can see here all this space under here, right? So you've lost your connection, right? Totally different. And now your arm has to come back down, right? So totally different. Now you've got a look similar to so this is me practicing, right? Now you've got a similar look when you finish to that, right? And you can see how as I come round, the club's coming out underneath my left shoulder, but it never looks as though this left armpit is, you know, your upper left arm is coming away from your torso, right? You've got to keep that connected. That's very important. So that's huge. That's huge. I love that, right? As far as you know, just giving you one thing to work on from this angle while we're working on this angle, this down the line angle. You know, if I put a, well, let me do a practice swing. All right, so if I put a line there going through my club, I put a line there coming through my right elbow. Look at where I'm practicing. Look at where that arm is. Look where my left arm is. Right, and look how the club. What I'm practicing is the club coming underneath the blue line. So I'm practicing getting very deep. Right, I'm practicing. You know, and this is what I mean by if you had a couple of sticks on the ground, your stick would be coming this way, becoming inward, and the other stick over your hands would be coming inward. And, you know, from your eye line, what you're looking down at, right, is your hands and the club head moving over those two red sticks, right? That's all you're thinking of. Just get the club head moving over the stick, get your hands moving over the stick, and then carry on up to the top of your swing. Now, if we stop at P3 there, right, you can see how much deeper my left arm is compared to where yours is, right? So yours is just a little bit inside your shoulder, right? Your hands are kind of in the middle of your chest. Well, what we want to try and do is get your left arm get your left arm more across your chest over there, right, so that your hands are going up through your right bicep, right. We want the club and your hands coming up through your right bicep, right. And then your backswing will be shorter. That's what I'm saying. You know, your backswing will look a lot shorter. I mean, my backswing is literally up to there. Well, that's my practice swing. That's what I'm practicing. In my actual swing, I get to, and this is just hitting little wedge shots. But you can see there, that's the top of my swing. That's it. Boom. But because your arms are still coming up off your torso, going back, right, you can see how the club's gone a bit too far, your hands are a bit too high, right? You can see how high your hands are compared to how high my hands are. Mine level with my ear, yours are way above your head. So if you swung inward more, what I'm saying is if you swung inward more with the club head in your hands, your left arm would be over here at the top and your hands would be about there. That sort of look. Okay, so that's your tip. Like your takeaway from today, right? It's just swing inward more. Get the club head moving inward more. Get your hands moving inward more, following those two red sticks. So that halfway back there, and this is what you can practice, right? You can see halfway back there, your left arm's here, my left arm's there, and the club and my hands are going through my right bicep, right? Kind of lower bicep, right? Your hands are going up through your shoulder. Your club and hands are nowhere near the right bicep, right? So that's the look you want to get when you video and you swing, right? But from this angle, that's all I want you to practice, because impact's better, right? You've now got a look where your hips are out the way, your shoulders are pretty much over your toe line, if not a little cleared a little bit, right? Kind of that kind of look, right? So much better, right? Right heel's a little bit off the ground, but you know, there's PGA Tour pros who bring their right heel off the ground, right? A bit too early. So let's get your face on one here. We'll put some dots. Right. So the big thing was the hip slide, right? So putting dots by your shoulders, line by your left ear, little circle for your center of your shoulders, little circle for the center of your hips. And yeah, that's better, isn't it? That's better. Right, so what I'm looking for is the hip slide, right? The hips are definitely sliding more there, aren't they? And also coming through there, yeah, that's better. That's better. And you could even get them more forward. You could even get them more forward than that, definitely. You know, you could even get them more forward than that. Right, but I definitely like that kind of look there, right? Your hips have slid forward, so now you've got like a, so now you've got like a right tilt in your spine, right? You could definitely get more of a right tilt, so you could definitely slide your hips more forward, right? Definitely. But that's good, right? I especially like that kind of look now, where you're keeping your hands here, right? You're keeping your hands in front of your left shoulder. Your old swing, where your arms come away from your body, right? Look where your hands finish. I mean, your hands are finishing right behind your head here, right? So this look now, what we're starting to see is I mean, that position there on the left, that reminds me very much of something like that. Right, this is Grant Waite. Right, but you can see where he finishes here with his hands in front of his shoulder. Right, left arm is still attached to his torso. Right, but I mean, what you've just done in the last couple of weeks with these swing changes are huge. You should see a huge difference in your ball flight now with all this sort of stuff, right? The one thing coming down here, we're still dumping the club a little bit too early, aren't we? Right, this club head is being dumped a little bit too soon there, right? So you can see from sort of this position, P6 down to impact. Look how your right arm kind of extends too much there. So you look at where he's at P6, that right arm's still bent, and even at impact, the right arm is still bent. Right, I'll show you a better. Video than that. Right, so the right arm's still bent at P6, but at impact the right arm is still bent as well, and that right wrist is still bent. Right, so I think that comes from, let's get you from this angle, that comes from the vertical plane, right? So you can see coming down here, the club's kind of coming through your right shoulder. Now, yes, he's got a driver, but if we pulled an iron up, it's gonna be similar. It's gonna be pointing down to about the target line, right? You can see how yours is coming down, and it's slightly in. Well, yeah, it's kind of at it, right? But I prefer that coming down on that line at it, right? So a little bit deeper, a little bit flatter, if you like. Right, and then as he's coming down, this right elbow is still bent, the right wrist is still bent, right? And from this angle, so let's get an iron up so it's more relevant. There you go, that's a good look. So bent elbow, bent wrist, and the club head still behind his hands, right, at P6, right? So I think this is what we talked about in the first lesson, right? Here, your club head is outside of your hands, right? Whereas I want you to try and keep it behind your hands, right? So the whole idea of swinging back inward more, following these lines, and then coming through and swinging inward more post-impact on those lines, totally makes sense, doesn't it? Totally makes sense, right? So you can see where his club head is there, right? So look where you are at the top of there, and I can actually see your club head. So the club head's here, right? So your shaft is kind of pointing over that way a little bit, right? So let's look at Grant Waite. Go back. Yeah. So look at that. Look at where the club head and his hands are traveling. Look at that. That's inward, right? And then this is what I mean about the shorter swing, right? But also look where the shaft is, right? The shaft is pointing off to the left. The club head is actually behind his hands, right? This way, this side of his hands, right? So from there, it's already behind his hands. He's just got to keep it behind his hands, right? So keep it behind his hands, keep it behind his hands, keep it behind his hands, right? From where you are with the shaft going over here a bit too much, you've got to do too much of a reroute of the club, right? You've got to do too much of a reroute of the club. You've got to do too much of a loop, if you like. If you watch my practice swing here, right, and you watch where the shaft stops and where the club head stops, right? Look how far behind my hands the club head is. Right. So if the club head's already behind your hands, by behind my hands I mean kind of that's the line that my hands are on, right? So the club head is behind my hands, right? So if the club head's already behind my hands, you haven't got to do as big a loop coming down, right? And you can still see the loop in that kind of practice swing coming down there. You can see what I'm practicing, right? Coming down to P6, right? Keeping this club head behind my hands. Bent elbow, right? Bent wrist, and then keeping the club head behind your hands, right? So all that sort of stuff is tied into understanding the swing plane and getting your club and your hands moving inward more, right? So if we draw some lines up here through the club, well, let's just do one through the club. Let's just do one through the club, right? So you can see how yours comes up and off it a bit early. You watch mine. Okay, mine my club head's a little bit under. I could do with hinging my left wrist a little bit more, keeping that club head on the line, but it's not a bad job, is it? Right, and you can see my hands finally come off the line about there. Right, your hands come off the line there. So you can see the difference, right? You've got to start thinking about your hands moving more inward and the club head moving more inward. And I would just focus on that, right? Just focus on that with regard to the direction you swing in the club. And then as you're coming down, right, the club head's going to be behind your hands more, right? So it's going to feel heavier in your trigger finger, your right hand trigger finger, that number 3 pressure point. And then keep that feeling coming all the way down to there, and that's what I'm feeling. You know, I'm feeling whilst I'm practicing this here, I'm feeling the club very heavy right there in my right hand trigger finger. That club head, because that club head is so far behind my hands, right, compared to your club being steep there. You look at that angle and you look at that angle, right? So therefore the club head is going to feel a lot more heavier. And I'm going slow to practice it, to build up the feeling, right? And then I'm just keeping the feeling in my fingers, and keeping the club head behind my hands, right? And that's what I want you to practice, right? So not only swinging it more inward, but also keeping that club head behind your hands more, coming down. And that's the feeling right. Whoops. That's the feeling right there in that trigger finger, right? Your right hand trigger finger, right? So if the club was here instead of here, the club head would be over here. You'd feel more pressure in that trigger finger. It'd feel heavier. That's what I'm saying. Okay, Craig. But I mean, if we can just carry on, if I can just carry on doing this for you, telling you what to do, and then you sending me new videos back, having done it, accomplishing it, whilst hitting a golf ball, that's huge. I mean, you know, from the last lesson, I think you sent me the first. Let's have a look at the dates. It's the 14th of June today. You sent me your first lesson, 17th of May. So let's say a month, right? I mean, impact's miles better, right? Impact's miles better. Connection is better with the arms, right? Swing plane is better coming out here. Connection under the left armpit. You're making big changes, big changes, and you should be seeing a big difference in the ball flight as well. I'd be interested for you to. I'd like you to send me an email and just tell me what's going on and how it feels as well, and the progress you feel you're making. I think that just those few bits there, whereas that's different with the hips and the shoulders, much different there with the club coming underneath your left shoulder, and the connection with keeping the left armpit connected. Just those things, you should see a huge difference in your ball striking, right? But send me an email, let me know. But from now until the next video, like I said, just swing more inward and try and keep the club head more behind your hands coming down. You can see how that club head kind of gets outside your hands a bit too early before impact, right? We want to feel this. We want to feel that club head staying behind your hands at that point. So obviously that's lots of slow motion swings, lots of practice swings where you go into the top and you're just practicing coming down to there. You see, that's what I'm doing, to the top, practicing coming down there to P6, keeping the club head behind your hands. Okay, Craig, any questions, mate? Just shoot me an email. Cheers.